The massacre was only the beginning. Who did this to us? Who attacked the tribe?
All we can do is pray to the goddess.
No. Praying won't save us. We have to find the killers.
So you will have to leave the sacred land.
Where the trail leads, I will go.
My name is David Ford, and I am the lead quest designer on Horizon Zero Dawn from Guerrilla Games. And Horizon is an action RPG set in a post-apocalyptic world populated with incredible machines, and you play as Aloy, a young huntress who is on a quest to find out who she is and unravel the deep mysteries of this world. Well, in terms of the reveal, I think it was a good opportunity for us to show off the three things that we think are really important for the game. First is the beautiful nature. You could see that in a lot of the opening shots where we were establishing what the game was and how we got to the situation that we're in with some of the shots of the fall of civilization and then nature reclaiming the world. The second thing is the robot ecology, which by that we mean the machines and how they interact with each other, and the fact that humans are no longer the dominant species on the planet, that there are these other creatures that are present, they're very dominant. And then the third is Aloy herself. And so I felt like the trailer did a really good job of saying just enough to get people excited about that without revealing too many spoilers that would dampen people's enthusiasm when playing the game. So the development philosophy for Horizon, as Herman said in some of the videos we showed earlier today, was that story was very important to us. And so we looked at the development of quests in terms of a couple of different levels. The first one is the main quest, the main narrative arc that you play through. And this is a quest line that deals with the big questions of the world. How did the world get to be the way that it is? Where did these machines come from? How does Aloy fit into all of this? And so you can kind of think of those as existing on kind of the worldwide level. And then below that we have a series of quests, one for each of the major tribes in this game, and those arcs deal with these tribes and what is important to them and what is threatening them. And so you can think of those as taking place on kind of the national level. And then below that are more individual or small group stories that are still very important to the people involved, but they don't have the big consequences of the national and the worldwide stories. So by breaking them down into those categories and thinking about them as stories first, and then making sure that they had good and engaging gameplay, I think we've been able to chart a path that creates a much more story-focused game, but one that still delivers on the action part of the action RPG. So we actually looked at the map size multiple times and changed it to fit what we felt was the size that we could fill in the time that we had and fill with good content. And one of the things that I did in my role as a lead quest designer was look at the spacing and pacing of that. So if I felt like there was too much content in one area and not enough in another, we could move some things around to load balance and make sure that there was fun things for you to do and find everywhere. So it came down to a lot of play testing, a lot of playing the game ourselves. We did a lot of testing with people outside of the studio and getting their feedback on how that worked. and variety. We have a lot of different kinds of quests that use the different mechanics that are present in the game. And we also have other world activities like our hunting grounds and bandit camps and the tall necks that you can climb and the cauldrons that are in the world. And so by having a bunch of different categories of things to do and then looking at where they were placed and what the pacing is between them and how many world encounters you'll find going from one place to the other, how quickly Aloy moves, how agile she is, the traversal elements that are in the world, the presence of mounts that you can ride, all of these things were tools that we used to try to get that balance right. So the main story is definitely where you're going to find all of the answers about who Aloy is and how the world came to be the way that it is. So you will have a good understanding of this game world by completing the main story. The main story is intended, it's balanced around a character progression that takes you throughout the game. And so you may find that if you come into some of that content and you're not high enough level, it may be a little bit more challenging than it is intended to be. But you could, if you wanted to, you could pursue that. But there's a lot of other things that you can do in the game, and we definitely hope that people will find them to be interesting and fun, and we'll play those quests as well. Well, I think that anytime you're working on a game and it's just starting, it's just coming together, one of the things that you have to figure out as a group is, what is this game? If you're not making a sequel, you're in uncharted territory in a lot of ways. So there was definitely a period at the beginning when I arrived and the quest team was being built up and we were making our first quests and working with the writers on the main quest and also some of the smaller stories, figuring out what was this game, what is the pacing, what are the type of elements that we want to use when creating a quest. How important are cinematics, how important are conversations, how important is it to have a variety of different things inside of one quest, how far is traveling from one point to the other too far, what do we need to do when you're moving from point A to point B to keep you interested and engaged. So there were a lot of questions that we had to answer as we were developing this content, and we answered those questions, as I said before, with a lot of playtesting, both internally and externally, and I'm pretty proud of where we got to at the end. I feel like now probably the biggest difference, and this is obvious, but you can play a Horizon game now. You couldn't do that before. And so if I wanted to explain to someone what is Horizon, I could say, well, you should play this game, and then when you're done, you'll have an understanding. And so getting to that point was probably our biggest challenge. So there are certain quests that unlock after completing other quests. There are no quests that are directly available just based on a conversation, but there are both quests and different moments that play out narratively that are influenced by choices that you've made previously. So there's an occasion where you have the choice whether a character lives or dies. And then there's some follow-up content that is different based on whether or not the person involved lives or died. There are moments that we call flashpoints where you'll have three options, and they have the different icons for how you can respond. And all three of the options are valid things that Aloy would say that are consistent with her character. We have the opportunity to choose what she's going to say in that moment. And in some cases, the point of that is to shape that moment and let you have a participatory voice in how she's going to respond to this. And in some cases, that will come back later as something that you can see a different moment play out compared to what you may have seen in another case. And then there are a few times, particularly close to the end of the game, where some of the choices that you've made will be reflected in the world that you see around you. Um, that's a great question. I don't. Yeah. Wow. I don't know what to say to that. I mean, maybe something in space that could be interesting. The fun thing about her is the juxtaposition between who she is, where she's come from, and the challenges that she's facing. So I think it could be very interesting to put her in a variety of situations, and I think that she would do pretty well in all of them because of who she is.
As long as it's no zombie apocalypse, I'm okay with it.
No zombie apocalypse, so I got it.
Okay, great.
All right, thank you very much.
What is it?
The end. Or how it begins, anyway.
There's so much more to discover before the world ends.